So this one's going to be about former NBA referee Tim Donahoe and ESPN trying to act like they're all superior journalism with their old tie behind who's losing everybody to Fox Sports, trying to act like on the 10th anniversary. And when Donahoe and the NBA fixing scandal that went down and how David Stern and them said there was the findings and everything. And I don't know what ESPN was trying to do. Excuse me. Pro sports has always been on the subject of a betting line. So now when you have legalized gambling and betting, you are subjecting yourself to particulars and what ifs and so on and so forth. Now Tim Donahue did bad with the mob. No surprise there. If there's money in their numbers and there's players involved, guess what? There's gonna be some illegalized gambling. So that's not no shock or surprise. Um, did he tell the whole truth? Probably not, but who cares? I mean, you look at some of the games, things look suspect. There's always been a superstar league, you know. Even if Tim Donahue did it, there were other refs involved. That's why it always trips me out how people pick on one person when there are other fish in there floating in that water. And they only go after one to use one as a scapegoat. Heck, the commissioner himself was suspect. When David Stern came out in 2004, when Shaq and Kobe were going through their grand was going on, the tension, he said, if I had my way, it'd be LA versus LA. Now think about that for a moment. So you can't tell me that the games don't be fixed. I mean, it's a superstar-driven league by numbers and money. That's what it's up. Let's be realistic. If you didn't have LeBron James on the Lakers, nobody would care about them right now. They'd be interesting only because Magic is a part of it, but no one would be sweating them. I mean, see, this thing is bigger than that. So people like to always throw that Lakers Sacramento series back in 2002. You know, Sacramento had game 7 at home and they choked at the free throw line. But I always say this. How about in game 5 when Bobby Jackson Curley grabbed a handful of Kobe Bryant's jersey? No call. How about the fact that Chris Webber was looking like Crimea River, crying he clearly was out of bounds and that ball went to Mike Bibby. They didn't count that against Chris Webb. They didn't have instant replay. Okay, you can use the Shamarky Walker shot before halftime. They counted. That's there. But the biggest thing that I always take away is this. You look at James Harden at the free throw line now, right? How in the world does Shaquille O'Neal in his peak in his prime, who played arguably the greatest basketball of a 3 or 4 year window I've ever seen in my life, not get to the free throw line more times than James Harden gets to because you couldn't stop him and they allowed acting and flopping and all kinds of things. So you tell me that with a straight face. Shaquille O'Neal, if the refs were calling things on the up and not going for all that acting and all the other stuff, he'd have been easily putting up 30 to 40 free throw attempts a night. Easily. Because you couldn't stop him. So they had to change rules. See, that's what they've done with the Euro rules and the stepping and the carrying and the palming. So that's why you really can't compare. You can say great players and lump them as one. It's like I always say, there's 15 guys who I consider the greatest ever, but to pick one is the game that changed too much just in the last decade, let alone 20, 30, 40 years. Where the refereeing comes into play is that judgment calls. So just like in football, you can always call a holding. Well, you can always call illegal screens and shifts. You can call calls because they're there. But the bottom line is this. Let's not kid ourselves. The NBA likes the sexy pick. They like the name and the juice. Okay, let's be realistic. You can call yourself a diehard basketball fan all you want, and rightfully so. But I bet you cash money, nobody outside of their family and some friends and a few fans would pay to go see it. Like Milwaukee right now, as bad as the Giannis is, Greek Freakers, he's arguably MVP with James Harden. You can take your pick. But no one right now would pay to see Milwaukee and the Denver Nuggets with Joker playing in the finals. Let's just call it like what it is. Because the NBA, it's about the brand, the name, and the int. And it's a script story. Let's not even kid ourselves. Baseball does it too. Even though I'm a Yankees fan, they haven't won anything in 10 years. But you know and say who the villain is. They thrive off of that. So if you beat the so-called villain, even though Boston's got more chips in the last 15 years, but still, etched in stone. And NFL too, you know. It's about let's just call it like it is. It's like last year I was telling a buddy of mine, I said, ain't no way in the world NFL wanted to see no Jacksonville in Minnesota, no Super Bowl. You know, good and well, you might gonna go see that because it don't sell and it ain't selling jerseys and it's not a sexy pick. So you walk into wonder how a referee can take it upon the action. Well, he gets the nod from whoever is running things. And it ain't just the bookies or Joey the arm breaker who's gonna break his ankles if things don't turn out right. It's the commission too. They all know what's up. And you bet your bottom dollar there's money to be made in it. So I'm not buying it for 1 minute, you know. Tim Donahue was honest enough as much as he could be forthright to admit this. And let's be realistic. He almost didn't have to say nothing because sometimes you be watching games and you see things, but then you don't see things. You know, see no evil, hear no evil. And a lot of times, guys don't get calls. It's a fact. And they want certain people to thrive. As great as they are, and athletes are great, let's not take that away. But let's also not kid ourselves. There is money in numbers, and there's also money in places, and there's politics in the business. They got ways that they do things that they do, you know. Because they're refs, they're human, and hey, they'll take a payout. So it's not like I haven't sat there and screamed at the set. You just saw the whole thing with New Orleans and Los Angeles in the NFC Championship game. If you saw that play, a dude clearly got interfered with twice. This was in New Orleans. So they do where they want because it's marketing. And some people with conspiracy theories said Boston versus LA in the Super Bowl. It's like in the NBA. That doesn't go by without, you know. So that's very much real. So Tim Donahue, what ESPN was finding was a bunch of garbage. Don't trust no ESPN. They whack and racist and tired. They leave Tim Donahue alone because there's bigger fish involved with what you see and how the results turn out. That's my take about that. Feel free to leave comments. Excuse me, hit that subscribe button, and I'm out. Peace.